Hey, this is Sean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Abuse, with another episode, of course, of my podcast. We were in the middle of the series How to Tell Stories and how you use that, how you use these things for yourself, right? And so yesterday we looked a little bit at when the hero hits a wall, hits a struggle, and so today we're going to do that. Like I explained to you, every story, every hero story, whether it's a group, whether it's a person, right, whether it's just a fictive person, it always follows the same script. Not more or less, but very closely actually. Whether you look at Star Wars, Harry Potter, you know, um, Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, they all follow the same type of things. Yesterday I was thinking about another movie. I think it was Matthew McConaughey. I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. And there was this movie. Let me think about what that name was. I think it's Interstellar. And anyhow, it's in the future, and he's a farmer, and he doesn't feel well with how people actually try to save the world. So that's his external desire. His internal desire is actually that he feels that he's born for something greater than just being a farmer, right? You have the same thing. And then he hits that wall. He gets the opportunity to do what he loves best, but he has to leave his kids. I mean, that's a pretty big wall, right? So everyone in every story hits that wall. But once you go through that wall, right, then you get into the phase, and think about it, these phases, what I told yesterday, right? You hit a wall and then you get a little bit of a transformation. You get hit a wall and then you get a little bit of a transformation or an epiphany. And that was the same thing with Mr. Matthew McConaughey in that movie. And so you can also relate that to yourself, right? Once I had that idea to go out there, and I just wanted to start something to stop sexual abuse. I mean, I hit a wall. It was not that easy as I thought. I told you yesterday, there was a lot of shame coming up. I felt that maybe I'm the only one that's struggling with it. Did I know better at that time? I didn't know better that there's so many people suffering from it. But then after the wall, there comes a moment of transformation. And the transformation can be pretty struggling, right? So my transformation was that I had to become really clear myself how it affected me without being victimized, right? How did it affect me without being get stuck in that victim? That was the transformation that I went through. And Matthew McConaughey, he had to work through it, that he had to learn that saving the species goes above his personal goals, right? Saving the human species, goes beyond the personal goals. I thought it was beautiful, to be honest, and it was an intriguing story for me. Not every story that follows that same script might actually connect with you, but that's why you have your own audience. I have my own audience when I do these things, and they love the stories that I told you. So, and secretly, I already told you a story about telling you a story. Do you see that? How that works? So everything that you want to kind of, it's not about teaching per se, but if you want to bring information across, if you want to just have an education way, telling a story is just an awesome way of doing that. And the reason why I'm starting to tell this story is that I see and teach about this telling stories is that I see so many entrepreneurs mainly becoming really successful once they start to have that art of telling stories down. I always liked to tell stories as a kid, and I like to learn. I like to hear stories, and I remember my younger sister Jackie, and she loved to hear me telling stories, but she wanted me to read always from the same book. So strange as this, kid can be just even connected with the same story over and over again. And it was about, let me think about that. How did you translate it? It was about, I forgot what his name was, but it was a dragon slayer. The dragon slayer, right? okay, that's not a good way of telling a story. Yeah, I was, and but she liked that story so much, and just a few moments ago, actually, I was talking to my kids, and they live in Europe, so it's evening there now, at least when I'm recording this, and they were watching one of those Marvel movies, and they were watching the story of Black Panther, and I was thinking through my mind, does that story follows the same thing as what I've been talking to? And actually it does, right? You learn a little bit about the backstory of Black Panther and how he became the king of Wakanda. And then he has a desire, and his desire is actually to make a better world. That's his outside thing, and help maybe people using the same technology that he did. His internal drive is, he wants Wakanda to be part of the world again, right? So that was his internal desire. I'm just not making that up. That's just what I'm come up with right now. And we start to connect with something that is maybe not exactly the same, but we have that, right? And then we like the transformation of the hero when he or she gets a better insight, when he or she often leave personal goals behind, when he or she leaves the anger and the hate behind. So the biggest transformation that I went through in my story of abuse is actually when I started to feel that living with hate, and that was not a way to deal with it, right? So I was so angry at my abuser, maybe my abusers, to be honest, that I started to mistrust the world, and I had so much anger in me. And it was not because I was reading a lot of books or following a lot of seminars, to be honest, but something came to me that I felt that I understood what forgiveness meant. So that was my transformation. My transformation was in the forgiveness. And you see in all these stories that we like, there's always a transformation in there. Mine was forgiveness. And in other people, it is, in the story of Black Panther, he started to feel that he cannot keep all that technology for himself. He needs to use it for the greater good of man. And all these heroes in these stories, doesn't have to be a big hero, it could be small. Even if you read the kid stories, they follow the same principle. And so that's that. So what transformation have you been going through? And then we'll see tomorrow and the day after how the hero story is going to end, whether the hero will actually achieve what he or she wants to achieve and whether that's a good thing or not. And maybe there are some struggles that he or she needs to go through before he actually can finish the story. And then we are going to look at, how to use that best. If you want to know a little bit more how to, literally apply to your, personal situation or in your business situation, send me a PM, right, on jean@jeandorf.com, or just find me on Facebook. This was Jean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Abuse, in the series How to Tell a Story and what's the practical use of it in normal life and in your business life. All right, I'll hear you back tomorrow. Bye bye.